Hi everyone, today's topic is SAT reading and writing. The domain is expression of ideas, and the skills that are tested is rhetorical synthesis. The difficulty level is easy. Let's start. Here, the most important thing is probably the options and this question. So we are just going to start from here, then look at the options, and if we can't find the answers, then we will look at what's written here in the student notes. The student wants to emphasize the similarity between the two specimens. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? So we need to emphasize the similarity between the two specimens. Let's see which one does this. The Field Museum of Natural History, where Sue is housed, is located in Chicago, Illinois. This one is wrong as it only shows the location of the museum and it doesn't really show any kind of similarity. Big Mac is a nickname of Tyrannosaurus fossil specimen housed at the Museum of the Rockies in Montana. This one is also wrong. It doesn't show any kind of similarity. The dinosaur fossil specimens Sue and Big Mac are both members of the genus Tyrannosaurus. Here we see and both, so this one is correct actually, because it shows similarity between Sue and Big Mac. Let's see at D. While Sue is housed at the Field of Museum of Natural History, Big Mac is housed at the Museum of the Rockies. This one shows contrast here, so this one is wrong. The answer is C. The student wants to provide an overview of the Haber-Bosch process. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Let's see. The Haber-Bosch process needs nitrogen, hydrogen, and an iron catalyst. The Haber-Bosch process uses an iron catalyst along with high temperatures and pressures to manufacture ammonia from nitrogen and hydrogen. Chemists Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch invented an industrial process to manufacture ammonia to be used in the fertilizers. In 1910, chemists Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch invented the Haber-Bosch process, which requires high temperatures and pressures. So we need an overview, which means that the answer shouldn't contain any kind of numbers. So the answer D is wrong, because this one is more details, it's not just an overview. Here we see that the overview shows the fact that the Haber-Bosch process is an industrial process used to manufacture ammonia. It uses an iron catalyst along with high temperatures and pressures to manufacture ammonia from nitrogen and hydrogen. The answer B is also a little bit too detailed. The answer is probably C. But here in the C, we do not really see the ingredients that are necessary, so it's not really complete. The ingredients are quite important, so we eliminate C2 as it's incomplete. And now we have choices A and B left. The Haber-Bosch process needs nitrogen, hydrogen, and iron catalyst. A is also incomplete as it doesn't really mention anything other than the ingredients that are needed here. So this one is also wrong. That's why we are left only with B. The Haber-Bosch process uses an iron catalyst along with high temperatures and pressures to manufacture ammonia from nitrogen and hydrogen. It shows both what's needed, the conditions like high temperature and high pressure, and also the ingredients that are needed, which are ammonia, nitrogen, and hydrogen. That's why the answer is B. The student wants to emphasize the distance covered by the Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information to complete this goal? So the only thing that we need here is to emphasize the distance covered by these two places. Let's see, the 62-mile-long Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike connected the Pennsylvania cities of Philadelphia and Lancaster. Since it's probably A, the Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike was the first private turnpike. This doesn't mention anything about the distance covered, so this one is wrong. The Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike, which connected two Pennsylvania cities, was built. It just shows when it was built. So this one is wrong. A historic Pennsylvania road was completed. It shows only the time that it was completed, so the answer is A. The student wants to identify which of three foods has the highest magnesium content. Let's see. Chia seeds contain 150 milligram, so the answer is probably chia. And let's see which one tells that. Chia seeds contain 150 milligrams of magnesium, which is more than peanuts and almonds. The answer is probably B, but let's look to other choices. At 80 milligrams, almonds contain more magnesium than peanuts. It just compares them. So if you want to know the highest, we don't really need words like then. It just shows comparison. Let's look at other choices. Magnesium is present in many foods, including peanuts, almonds, and chia seeds. This one is also wrong, as it doesn't say. It just lists the products that have magnesium in it. That's why this one is also wrong. Peanuts contain 49 of magnesium, a mineral the human body requires for over 300 essential processes. It just explains what is magnesium, so we don't really need that. The answer is indeed B. The student wants to emphasize a similarity between the Choctaw Code Talkers and the Navajo Code Talkers. So we need again similarities, so we should have in our answer words like and or both and so on. Let's see. Here in C there is both. Both the Choctaw Code Talkers and the Navajo Code Talkers transmitted coded military messages in the soldiers' native language. The answer is probably C, but let's look at the choices too. Yes, soldiers who were members of Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma used their native language to relay coded information. It only mentions Choctaw, nothing about Navajo. In World War II, one group of Navajo soldiers was known as the Navajo Code Talkers. Here's the opposite. Choctaw isn't mentioned, so B is also wrong. D. The Choctaw Code Talkers, not the Navajo Code Talkers, served in World War I. It compares them. It doesn't really show the similarity. That's why the answer is C. The student wants to describe how fabric is used in assertion of will. In assertion of will, the figure's clothing is made of fabric pieces stitched to the painting's canvas. The answer is probably A, but let's look to other choices. The exhibition Oracles of the Pink Universe featured artworks by artist Simply Wem. The answer isn't B. It doesn't say anything about fabric, so this one is wrong. Also, the exhibition is completely wrong. Here, it's about oracles, but the question is about assertion of will. Depicting three standing closed figures, assertion of will is painting by Simphivia. This one is also probably wrong, because the main idea here is fabric, not what is assertion of will. There is no need to know who painted it. This one is also. Assertion was one of 8 artworks exhibited in Oracles of the Pink. This one also doesn't mention fabric at all, so the answer is indeed A. The student wants to define the term Lazarus species and provide an example of one. The term Lazarus species describes a living species of organism such as a mountain pygmy possum that was once believed to be extinct. The answer is probably A. One example of Lazarus species is a mountain pygmy possum, a mammal species that was identified in the wild in Australia. This one doesn't define the term, so it's wrong. It only shows the example. The mountain pygmy possum, a species of mammal, was identified in the wild in 1966. This one will eliminate due to the same reason. Sometimes a species once believed to be extinct is later found living in the wild. This one is completely wrong. I mean, it doesn't provide any example about Lazarus species or the term. So the answer is A. The student wants to emphasize the difference between the two muslins. Dhaka muslin is a handmade fabric with an extremely fine weave, while sheeting muslin is machine-made with a coarse weave. The answer is probably A. It compares them while shows the comparison. Dhaka muslin and sheeting muslin are two different types of woven cotton fabrics. It's too general. And that's why this one is wrong. It just defines what are they. It doesn't compare. Muslins can be used in a variety of ways, from making luxury clothing to upholstering furniture and etc. This answer is also wrong, as it doesn't mention any kinds of muslins. It just shows what you can do with them. That's why it's wrong. Sheeting muslin is machine-made, has a coarse weave, and is used for furniture and theater sets. The same reason as C. It doesn't mention anything about it, so the answer is wrong. Here you can see only sheeting muslin, but nothing about Dhaka muslin, so the answer is A. The student wants to specify who may have first populated the Azores according to the 2015 study. Historians have long believed that the first humans to populate the Azores, a group of islands about 870 miles off the coast of Rhetorical, arrived in the 15th century. But it doesn't really mention who exactly populated it, so this answer is probably wrong. Portuguese mariners may not have been the first humans to populate the Azores. The same reason it doesn't say who populated it for the first time. In their 2015 study, the researchers found a genetic connection between house mice in the Azores and those in Scandinavia. Again, the same reason, it doesn't really mention anything about people who first populated it. According to 2015 study, the first humans to populate Azores may have been Vikings from Scandinavia, not mariners from Portugal. So the answer is D. It mentions Vikings who first populated this place. The student wants to specify the number of grave wolves in Yellowstone. So here we need number, and where can we see that? We can see that here in the Yellowstone is a national park that has roughly 100 grave wolves living in it. The answer is D, but let's eliminate other answers too. Grey wolves were introduced into Yellowstone National Park in the northwest United States in 1995. It doesn't mention the number of wolves, so it's wrong. As of 1995, there were grey wolves living in Yellowstone, a national park in northwestern United States. The same reason, it doesn't mention the number. The carrying capacity of an environment such as Yellowstone describes the maximum number of species that the environment can sustain over time. The same reason, it doesn't really show the exact number. That's why the answer here is D. The student wants to indicate the year Yosemite Falls was completed. While living in California, Boto created black ink paintings. Actually, we need a year here against the number, and we can see that at C. Yosemite Falls was completed in 1930. The answer is C, but let's eliminate other choices too. While living in California, Boto created black ink paintings. It's wrong. It doesn't show the year. Abato, a Japanese-American artist, created a notable painting. Nothing about the completion date. Obata used a Japanese painting method called sumai. This one is again wrong. It just mentions the method used. So the answer there was C. Here, the theorem was to indicate where the dicrosaurid fossil was found. The fossil was found in western Indian Star Desert. The answer is probably A. Bajpayee's team recently found the oldest fossil ever recovered. It doesn't show the location. Wrong. Dr. Sunil Bajpayee of the Indian Institute of Technology is part of the research team. Here the main idea is Dr. Sunil Bajpayee, which is wrong. The fossil, which is from the Dicrosaurid dinosaur group, is 167 million years old. We don't really need that information. The only thing that we need is the location, and only A shows that. The theorem was to identify the setting of Carter's novel My Antonia. My Antonia is set in Nebraska, where Carter grew up. The answer is probably A. Carter's author of My Antonia describes the experience of immigrants in her novels. It doesn't show the setting, so this one is wrong. Among Carter's best-known novels, it just mentions the best-known novels of Carter, so this one is wrong. Carter attended the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and set some of her novels in Nebraska. Again, it doesn't talk about the novel, instead about the author, so the answer is A. The theorem wants to introduce Pauline Hopkins to an audience unfamiliar with her career. Pauline Hopkins is the author of Hagar's Daughter, a serialized novel published from 1901 to 1902. This one is a possible answer, I think, but let's look at other possible options. African-American writer Pauline Hopkins created many genre-defining stories during her career, including the first African-American mystery novel, Hagar's Daughter. Actually, I think the answer is B, but let's see. Published in the Colored American magazine from 1901 to 1902, Hagar's Daughter is a serialized novel by Pauline Hopkins. Here we don't see the career of Pauline Hopkins, so this one is wrong. Hagar's Daughter by Pauline Hopkins is considered the first African-American mystery novel. This one again doesn't mention her career. Choice A. Pauline Hopkins is the author of Hagar's Daughter, a serialized novel published from 1901-1902. This one is incomplete, so it's wrong, and the only thing we have here is B. That's it. The student wants to identify what type of scientist Chowdhury is. Chalk is a type of sedimentary rock. It's wrong. Here we can see actually at D. He is a sedimentologist, and it shows what kind of scientist he is, so the answer is D here. Some scientists study shale, chalk, and sandstone. It doesn't even mention the name of Chowdhury, and the same thing here. We can't see his name, so the answer is D. The theorem wants to indicate how Fulton, Missouri got its name. Fulton, Missouri shares its name with Fulton Street in New York City. Fulton Street is in New York City, where the steamboat Clermont was designed in 1807. This one is wrong. We need to know how the city got its name. Designed in 1807 in New York City, Clermont was the first commercial successful steamboat. Here the main idea is the steamboat, not the city. Fulton, Missouri is named after exactly we needed actually this word, and Robert Fulton, designer of the first commercial successful steamboat. Answer is D. The student wants to emphasize the thickness of lead-208, the neutron skin. The neutron skin surrounding an atom of lead-208 measures about 0.108 trillionths of a millimeter. The answer is probably this one. It shows the thickness, but let's look at other choices too. Atoms with excess neutrons will often acquire a neutron skin. It doesn't mention anything about the thickness. An atom of lead-208, like some of other, is surrounded by a neutron skin. The same reason. Neutrons surround the surface of an atom of lead-208. This doesn't mention anything about the thickness, so we don't need these answers. The only answer that has it is this one, A. The student wants to emphasize how many islands in Komodo National Park have Komodo dragons living on them. Komodo dragons, the world's largest lizard, live on island in Komodo National Park, Indonesia. We can see the number here, so it's wrong. The largest eye lizards in the world are found in Komodo National Park. It only shows their location, nothing about how many of them live there. Only 4 of 29 islands in Komodo National Park have dragons. The answer is this one. It shows that at 4 of them the Komodo dragons live. There are 29 islands in Indonesia. It just shows the general number of islands there. So the answer is C. The student wants to explain the origin of the species name. A new species discovered in Egypt in 2013 lived approximately 8 million years ago. We can't really see the origin of this species name. A partial dinosaur skeleton found in Egypt's Oasis belonged to a species named. This one is also wrong. It doesn't show the origin, as that lived approximately 18 million years ago was discovered in 2013 by Egyptian paleontologists. This one again is wrong. The new species was named to recognize the team that discovered it, a professor and student from Mansour University. The answer is D. We can see named after here. So the answer is D. The student wants to emphasize how harsh the conditions can be in the tundra. Winters in tundra are especially harsh, with temperatures averaging a frigid minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The answer is probably A. It shows that it's extremely difficult to live there. The conditions are quite bad. Animals that have adapted to harsh winter conditions can survive tundra winters. This one is wrong. It doesn't show how harsh it is. There are around 1,700 different kinds of plants that can live in the tundra, where average temperatures can reach a mild 54 degrees. It does mild 54 degrees, but we need to show how harsh the conditions is there. Along with animals that have adapted to tundra's conditions, around 1,700 different kinds of plants can live there. This one is also wrong. It doesn't show how harsh it is there, so the answer is A. The student wants to compare the length of the twin rail tunnels. The answer is probably B, because there is the word while, but let's look to the choices first. Some of the world's rail tunnels, including one tunnel that extends from Folkestone, England to Courgelles, France, are longer than 30 miles. It doesn't compare their lengths, so this one is wrong. The second tunnel is roughly 33 million long, while the slightly shorter Channel Tunnel is about 31 miles long. The answer is B. The second tunnel, which is roughly 33 miles long, connects the Japanese islands of Honshu and Hokkaido. So it doesn't compare anything, so no. Both, and this one shows similarity because of the word both and. So the answer is B. The student wants to define the term georeferencing. So let's see which one defines it. Actually, T does this one. Georeferencing is a process of assigning geographic coordinates to an image so that mapping software can place it in its real-world location. This one is correct. Let's look to other choices. A 2017 project by Daniel Lopez Madura and colleagues assigned geographic coordinates. It doesn't even explain. It just tells that people used this georeferencing, so this one is wrong. The same thing is here. It doesn't define the term. Instead, it just tells that people used it. So this one is wrong. And it tells how can georeference aerial photographs from 1913 can help researchers analyze changes in Puerto Rico coastline. So it tells us that photographs from 1930 can help today us. So this one is wrong. The answer is D. The student wants to describe the box shape. Grace Young 2004 book The Breeze of Wok traces history of the cooking pan. That's wrong. Able to even land contain oil splatters. The wok is a subject. It again doesn't show the shape. A wok is a cooking pan with a round wide base and high angled sides. The answer is C. The design of a wok, a type of cooking pan that originated in China during the Han Dynasty, helps pan cook food evenly. It just tells how it cooks, not the shape of it, so the answer is C. The student wants to emphasize the order in which Alaska and Hawaii became U.S. states. Alaska is in 1949 state became state several months before Hawaii. The 50th state did. The answer is A here. It talks about a new 50-star U.S. flag, so it's wrong. 49th and the 50 states joined U.S. states installed in the same year. It doesn't show its order. The same day that Hawaii became U.S. state, a new U.S. flag was unveiled. The same thing here. It doesn't even mention Alaska. The student wants to explain an advantage of microprobes. Despite being heavy, NASA's rovers can land successfully on the surface of Mars. It doesn't mention this word, so it's wrong. Microprobes, which weigh as little as 50 milligrams, could explore areas of Mars that are inaccessible to NASA's heavy-wheeled rovers. The answer is here. It describes its advantage. NASA currently uses its rovers on Mars, but microprobes have been proposed as an alternative. It doesn't even mention its advantages. Although they are different sizes, both microprobes and rovers can be used to explore the surface of Mars, but it doesn't mention the advantages of microprobes, so the answer is B. The student wants to specify the location of Ctesiphon. The Sasanian Empire became... It doesn't even mention the name of this location, so the answer is A is wrong. The capital of the Sasanian Empire, which spanned... The main idea here is the Sasanian Empire, not the city. So it's wrong. The Sassanians controlled an area of 1.4 million square, including present-day Iran, Iraq. It's wrong. It doesn't mention the Scythia, so the answer is D. Ctesiphon, the capital of the Sasanian Empire, was located near present-day Baghdad, Iraq. The answer is D. The student wants to indicate the title of a novel that won a Nebula Award. Babel 17 by Samuel Delany won a Nebula Award in 1967. The answer is A. It mentions the name, so it's right. Samuel Delany published. It doesn't really mention the name of the novel, that's why it's wrong. The same thing about C and also D. None of these choices mentions the name. Only A mentions the name of the novel. The student wants to identify the year that the Canon Medicine was published. The student wants to identify the year that the Canon of Medicine was published, so let's see which one mentions any kind of numbers, and it's A. Ibn Sina's book, The Canon of Medicine, was published in the year 2025 CE. The answer is A. Other choices do not mention any kind of numbers, so A is the only possible option. The student wants to emphasize the similarity between the last Gill paintings and the Dagak Nabik-Gilay paintings. So, as I mentioned before, here we need words like and both. And where we can see them, actually here. Option D. The last Gill painting and the Dagak Nabik-Gilay painting are both examples of ancient Brooke art found in Somaliland. It shows its similarities. Let's look at other choices. And Somaliland, the painting in last Gill caves feature human figures and animals. It doesn't mention Dagak Nabik-Gilay, so it's wrong. And the painting at the Dagak Nabik-Gilay caves features example of writing, while those at the last Gill caves feature humans and animals. It has word vowels, so it shows contrast here, the difference, opposites. The earliest example of writing in East Africa are thought to be featured in the paintings at the Dagak Nabik-Gilay caves. It doesn't mention last Gill, so it's wrong. The answer is D. The student wants to specify the average length of the green iguana. The only option that shows that is this one. In other choices, we do not even see the numbers, so the answer is B. The green iguana has an average length of 4.8 feet. The student wants to emphasize the similarity between Baird's invention and John's invention. Let's see which option has the words both. For example, C shows contrast, so it's wrong. John's mobile refrigeration system, which was made it possible for food transport trucks to carry perishable food further. This one is wrong because it doesn't mention Baird's. Here, option A. Baird's automatic coupler and John's mobile refrigeration system both improved on existing designs. So the answer is A. In 1897, Baird invented an automatic coupler, which makes the job of connecting train cars safer. It doesn't even mention John's, so it's wrong. The answer is A. The student wants to provide an explanation and example of fauna. The term fauna, used by Los Angeles-based painter, is a combination of the words flora and fauna. It doesn't mention any kind of examples. John Chinga uses the term fauna, a combination of the words flora and fauna, to describe the subjects of his surreal paintings, plant-animal hybrids such as parrots with leaves for feathers. The answer is B. It both shows the term, what it means here, and examples of it here. This one is example. This one is term. John Hing, who created nectar, refers to subjects of his painting as well. It doesn't contain neither term nor example. The subject of nectar, primeval, and type fauna terms the painting's creator uses when describing his real artworks. The same thing. Answer is B. The student wants to introduce Kahlo to an audience unfamiliar with the artist. Let's see. In this case, we need the full name of the artist here because the audience doesn't know her. For example, that's why let's see. Known for being vivid and ritual symbolic, Frida Kahlo's her portraits included the two Fridas. It's wrong. It doesn't mention anything about the artist. The only thing that mentions is the drawing. The 1939 painting of the two Fridas, the same thing. It's wrong. It doesn't mention who is a Frida. One of the most influential, in option D, the answer is probably D. One of the most influential artists of the 20th century, Mexican painter Frida Kahlo, is best known for her self-portraits, which are vivid and richly symbolic. The answer is D. It introduces her. One painting by Frida Kahlo features two versions of herself. The same reason. It talks mainly about her painting, not herself. So the answer is D. The student wants to emphasize the difference between the behavior of jellyfish and that of a black dragonfish. So we need this difference, so we do not need the word both here in our choice. Instead, we need whereas, which shows us opposite. Jellyfish emit light to startle predators, while dragonfish do so to locate prey. It shows their difference. Black dragonfish emit a steady red light. It only mentions black dragonfish, and this one only mentions bioluminescence, so we don't really need that. We don't need this. The answer is D. The student wants to emphasize Wu's most well-known achievement. Here we can see actually best known. Annie Wu is best known for the 2011 YouTube video performance of 3 beats for beatbox fluids that has been viewed over 2 million times. The answer is C. Annie Wu, who has won multiple nations, who has also combined fluid. It doesn't mention the best known. It just talks about her. Among her many achievements, again the same thing. It doesn't focus on the best known one. That's why it's wrong. This deal is also wrong due to the same reason. Now let's move on to the next question. Here we have the student wants to describe how the bicycles in double phantom entropiar are fused together. Okay, let's highlight this part. To create the sculpture double phantom entropiar, Miguel and Luciano fused together to swim phantom bicycles. This one is wrong. It doesn't tell how he fused them, he just mentions it. There are two red swim phantom bicycles in the sculpture. This one also, it doesn't tell about the action. The two red bicycles in double phantom entropia are fused together so that they share the same rear wheel while facing opposite directions. And this one is correct. It tells about how they're fused together so that they share the same rear wheel. Double phantom entropia is a sculpture created by multimedia visual artist Michele Luciano. This one just mentions about who made it and what's double phantom. So the answer here is C. The student wants to emphasize how far the infantryman traveled. The U.S. infantrymen rode their bicycles from Montana to Missouri, traveling a total of 1,900 miles. This one is probably correct. It mentions the distance. So choose A, but look at other questions too, other options too. The 125th anniversary of the infantryman's journey was in 2022. We would answer this if the question asked about the 8th anniversary when it is, so this one is wrong. The goal of the 1897 journey was to test the idea of forming a military bicycle corps. This one would be answered if the question asked about what's the aim of this infantryman, so this one is also wrong. Over a century later, Eric Cedeno honored the infantrymen by reenacting their 1847 journey. This one also is wrong. The only choice that shows us the number of miles that it traveled is this one, so the answer is A. The student wants to compare the extinction risk faced by C. olivacea with that faced C. furcatus. Okay, we need comparison here. According to a conservation organization, has a high risk of becoming extinct in the near future. The answer is probably this one because it shows comparison here higher. This one is comparison, so the answer is A. C. furcatus faces a higher risk of extinction while olivacea faces little risk of becoming extinct in the near future. Here our main idea is C. olivacea, and so we need to mention this one first, and afterwards we need to mention C. furcatus. So this answer is still A. Conservation organizations have evaluated both risk of becoming extinct in the near future. It doesn't compare at all. C. olivacea is approaching birth. It just mentions what is C. olivacea. The choice B could be the answer if in here we had olivacea, here we could have furcatus. If they change their places, then B would be correct. But here A is correct. The student wants to contrast the two styles of tiles. Okay, here we also compare. Tiles in the Majolica and Arista styles can be found in the Royal Alcazar. This one doesn't compare at all. It just mentions the location. If the question wanted the locations, then this could be the answer. Featuring tiles in the Majolica and Artista styles. This one again, it doesn't compare at all, so it's wrong. In the Artista style, designs are stamped into ceramic tiles, whereas in the Majolica style, the designs are painted directly on them. The answer is C. Let's look at D. Among the famous tile work of the Royal Alcazar of Seville are Majolica style tiles, made by painting designs directly on the ceramic tiles. This one also doesn't compare. So the answer here is C. Let's look at this question. The student wants to indicate where the short story takes place. So we just need here the location. Raymond's Run takes place in Harlem. It has location, so the answer is A. Raymond's Run was published in Gorilla My Love. It just tells where it was published, so it's wrong. It doesn't talk about location. Raymond's Run is told from a first-person perspective. Again, no location here. Raymond's Run was written by Tony Kate Bambara. So the answer is A here. The student wants to explain an advantage of the hanky-Henry calendar. The Gregorian calendar has 365 days, which is 1 day longer than hanky-Henry permanent calendar. This one is wrong. It doesn't talk about any kind of advantage that hanky-Henry calendar has. Adopting the hanky-Henry permanent calendar would help solve problem with the Gregorian calendar. It doesn't mention which problem it would solve. Designed so calendar dates would occur on the same day of the week each year, the hanky-Henry calendar supports more predictable scheduling than does the Gregorian calendar. The answer is probably C, because it just tells what kind of problem it solves. In B, we do not have anything that explains us what kind of problem it would solve. We don't know that. That's why it's not complete. The answer B is incomplete, and that's why it's wrong. But the answer C is complete, so the answer is probably C. The hanky-Henry permanent calendar was developed as an alternative to the Gregorian calendar. The answer is also wrong. It doesn't mention any kind of advantage, so the answer is C. Thank you for watching the video, and goodbye.